The worst part wasn't what you saw. It was what you heard. I was a radio man aboard the USS Auburn, an attack transport, third-class petty officer. My battle station was in the communications center, deep in the ship's hull. No windows, no view of the ocean. Just me and my headset and the radio equipment, listening to the war happen somewhere above me. Most people think the guys below decks had it easy, safe from the fighting, protected by steel and bulkheads and distance. They don't understand that sometimes knowing what's happening is worse than seeing it. Sometimes imagination fills in details that are more terrible than reality. Sometimes the radio tells you things you wish you'd never heard. My name is David Walsh, Philadelphia, working-class Irish family. My father was a longshoreman. I grew up around the docks, around ships, around rough men doing hard work. Joined the Navy in '42, right after I turned 18. Seemed like the smart choice. Let the Army boys do the dying in the mud. I'd be on a ship, clean bunks, hot food, relative safety. Radio school in San Diego, 6 months learning Morse code, radio procedures, encryption, signal protocols. I was good at it. Fast on the key. Good ear for picking signals out of static. They assigned me to the Auburn in late '43. We did runs across the Pacific, transporting Marines mostly. Island hopping, Tarawa, Saipan, Tinian. I'd hear the radio traffic during the landings. Hear the Marines calling for fire support, for medical evacuation, for reinforcements. Hear the casualty reports coming back. But I never saw it, never went ashore. Just heard voices over the radio. Voices that sometimes cut off mid-transmission. Voices that screamed. Voices that went silent and never came back. In January of '45, we got our orders. Operation Detachment. Target, Iwo Jima, small volcanic island, 8 square miles. Strategic importance. Airfield for fighter escorts, emergency landing site for damaged B-29s returning from Japan. The intelligence briefing said the Japanese had 21,000 troops dug into the island. Miles of tunnels, fortified positions, every cave a pillbox, every hill a fortress. They'd been preparing for a year, knew we were coming. The briefings estimated 40% casualties in the first wave. 40%. Almost half the Marines going ashore would be dead or wounded within hours. I sat in that briefing room and tried to process that number. Tried to imagine what 40% meant. Tried not to think about the fact that I'd be listening to those casualties over the radio. Hearing them die. One by one. Voice by voice. We set sail in mid-February, part of a massive invasion fleet. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of Marines, all heading toward a tiny island that most Americans had never heard of. An island that would become one of the bloodiest battles in Marine Corps history. I heard it all, every minute, every hour, every day for 36 days, and I've never stopped hearing it. February 19th, 1945. H-hour was 0900. We'd been offshore for 3 days already. The Navy had been pounding the island with shells, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, day and night, thousands of rounds, trying to soften up the Japanese positions before the Marines went in. I was in the comm center by 0600. Headset on. Radio tuned to the command frequencies. I could hear the naval gunfire through the bulkheads. Feel the ship shake when the big guns fired. But mostly I just listened to the radio traffic. The pre-invasion chatter was routine, calm, professional. Ships reporting positions, aircraft checking in, landing craft forming up, weather reports, wind speed, tide conditions, all very orderly, very controlled. It wouldn't stay that way. At 0830, the first wave of Amtraks left the ships, amphibious tractors loaded with Marines, heading toward the beach. I heard the boat commanders reporting. Wave 1 away, Wave 2 forming up, Wave 3 standing by. The preliminary bombardment intensified. Rockets from the LCI gunboats, strafing runs from carrier aircraft. The radio traffic picked up, more urgent, faster. Green beach under bombardment, yellow beach clear, Red beach smoke obscuring target. Then, at 08:59, 1 minute before H hour. All units, this is control. Commence landing. I repeat, commence landing. I heard the acknowledgments come back, one after another. Green 1, roger. Green 2, roger. Red 1, roger. Then silence. 30 seconds of silence while they hit the beach, while they crossed from sea to land, from safety to hell. Then the radio exploded. Green 1, taking fire, heavy fire, mortars and machine guns. Red 2, casualties. We need corpsmen. Yellow Beach, we're pinned down. Can't move forward. The calm, professional voices were gone. Now they were shouting, screaming, panicked. The radio channels overlapped, multiple transmissions at once. I could barely sort them out. This is Green 3. We're getting slaughtered. We need fire support. Naval gunfire, grid coordinates. Static. Transmission cut off. Medic! Medic! Oh, God, his legs. More static. I was writing it all down, trying to log the transmissions, trying to maintain the official record. But my hands were shaking. The headset was pressed against my ears, and I could hear everything. Every scream, every explosion, every death. A Marine radio operator came on, voice young, terrified. We can't get off the beach. The sand, we can't dig in. We're stuck. They're killing us. The Japanese had let them land, let them get onto the beach, then opened up from the high ground, from Mount Suribachi, from the ridge lines, mortars and artillery and machine guns all at once, raking the beach. The Marines were trapped, caught between the ocean and a wall of steel. The casualty reports started coming in. Numbers. Just numbers at first. Abstract. 10 casualties, 20, 30, 50. Then names. Voices I'd heard moments ago, now silent, gone, dead on a beach I couldn't see, dying while I sat safe below decks, listening. I wanted to take off the headset, block it out, make it stop. But that was my job. Listen, record, pass information up the chain. So I kept listening, and the screaming never stopped. The first day was chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos transmitted directly into my ears. By noon, the beaches were clogged with casualties. The volcanic ash made it impossible to dig foxholes. Marines were using bodies as cover, their own dead as sandbags. I heard a sergeant ordering his men to stack the corpses, build walls with them, use them for protection. What kind of war makes you do that? What kind of hell forces you to hide behind your dead friends? The Japanese artillery was surgical, precise. They'd had months to pre-register every inch of the beach. They knew exactly where to drop shells for maximum casualties. The radio traffic was continuous, every unit calling for support, for medical evacuation, for reinforcements, for anything. This is Red Beach 2. We've got wounded stacked up here. Where's the goddamn corpsman? Yellow 1, my entire squad is down. I'm the only one left. Green 3, we need ammo. We're almost Winchester. Winchester, military code for out of ammunition, a death sentence. I passed the requests up to command. Listened to the responses come back. Help was coming. Hang on. Stay low. Keep fighting. Empty words. Hollow promises. What were they supposed to say? We can't help you. You're on your own. Die well? By mid-afternoon, I heard a transmission that still haunts me. A corpsman. Name was Jenkins. I'd never met him, never seen his face. But I knew his voice. He'd been on the radio all day. Calm, professional, treating wounded under fire, moving from casualty to casualty, saving lives. This is Corpsman Jenkins. I've got a Marine here. Sucking chest wound, needs immediate evac. He stopped, made a sound. Not quite a scream, more like surprise, shock. I'm hit, he said. Voice different now, weak, confused. I'm hit bad. Another voice came on. Doc? Doc, stay with me. Where are you hit? Stomach, Jenkins said. I can feel it. I can feel static. Silence. Someone else came on the radio. Corpsman down. Jenkins is down. We need another corpsman. I sat there with my headset on, listening to the static, knowing Jenkins was dead or dying somewhere on that beach. A man whose only job was to save lives, dead, gone. Just another voice that went silent. How many voices went silent that day? How many transmissions just stopped? Mid-sentence, mid-word, cut off by bullets or shrapnel or death. I tried to count, gave up after 50. Too many, too fast. They were dying faster than I could log them. The Japanese launched a counterattack at dusk, came pouring out of the caves and tunnels. The radio went insane, every unit screaming for support, firing everything they had. The Marines held, barely, but they held. Night fell. The gunfire didn't stop, neither did the radio traffic. Wounded crying out in the darkness. Japanese infiltrators cutting communication lines. Marines calling for illumination rounds, for star shells, for anything to see by. I sat in the comm center through it all. 12 hours straight. No relief, no break. Just listening. Listening to boys die on a beach I couldn't see. In a battle I couldn't fight. For an island I couldn't imagine. My ears were ringing. My head was pounding. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. But I kept listening, because someone had to. Someone had to bear witness. Someone had to hear them, even if it destroyed me. The battle went on for weeks. 36 days. The longest I ever spent below decks. The longest I ever spent listening to men die. The radio traffic changed as the days went on. Less panic, more exhaustion. The Marines adapted, learned, figured out how to fight in that hellscape. But the casualties never stopped. Every day, new voices on the radio, replacements, fresh Marines sent up from the beach to fill the holes left by the dead and wounded. They'd check in, give their call signs, their positions. Within hours, sometimes minutes, they'd be casualties themselves. I started recognizing patterns. Certain units had higher casualty rates. Certain positions were death traps. I'd hear a unit get assigned to a particular ridge or cave system, and I'd know, just know, they wouldn't all come back. Sometimes I wanted to warn them. Key the mic and tell them don't go there. That position is cursed. Everyone who goes there dies. But I couldn't. Wasn't my place, wasn't my job. My job was to listen, to record, to pass messages. Not to save lives, just to document their loss. Mount Suribachi fell on day 5. I heard the transmission. We've reached the summit, preparing to raise the flag. Everyone in the comm center cheered. A rare moment of celebration, of victory. The photograph would become iconic. The flag raising, 6 Marines. Symbol of American determination. 3 of them died before the battle ended. I heard those transmissions, too. Nobody cheered for those. The fighting moved north, into the meat grinder, the Central Highlands, fortified positions, every cave a tomb, every pillbox a fortress. The Marines had to blast them out one by one. Flamethrowers, demolition charges, grenades, close quarters, brutal. I heard it all. The radio operators describing what they were seeing, what they were doing, the horror in their voices when they had to use flamethrowers on caves, when they could hear Japanese soldiers screaming inside, burning alive. We had to do it, one Marine said. Voice hollow, dead. They wouldn't surrender. We had to do it. Nobody responded. What could you say? The Japanese started using suicide attacks, banzai charges, infiltration at night, wounded Japanese soldiers with grenades waiting for corpsmen to approach, booby traps, mines. Every inch of that island was designed to kill. By day 20, I couldn't sleep anymore. Even off duty in my bunk, I could hear the radio in my head, phantom transmissions, Voices calling out, screaming, going silent. The ship's doctor gave me pills, said they'd help me sleep. They didn't, just made everything foggy, made the voices in my head louder somehow, more insistent. I stopped taking the pills, stopped sleeping, just lived in the comm center. 20-hour shifts, 22-hour shifts, until I collapsed, until they physically removed me and forced me to rest. Then I'd be back at my station, back with my headset, back listening to the war, because someone had to. Someone had to hear them, even if it was killing me. My breaking point came on day 28, March 18th. I'd been on duty for 16 hours. The battle was winding down. The Japanese resistance was collapsing. Everyone said it would be over soon. A Marine patrol was clearing caves in the northern sector. Routine operation. Final mopping up. The war was almost over for Jima. They'd survived. Made it through the worst. Just one more day. Maybe two. I was monitoring their frequency. Heard them reporting cave by cave. Cave 17 clear. Cave 18 clear. Moving to cave 19. Then, cave 19 occupied. We've got movement inside, preparing to... Explosion. Massive. Loud enough that I heard it through the radio and through the ship's hull. Some kind of mine or booby trap. The whole cave system collapsed. Man down! Multiple casualties. We need help. Corpsman up. I can't see. There's dust everywhere. I can't... Tommy's trapped. His legs are pinned. We need to get him out. I listened to them try. Listened to them dig. Listened to them pull rubble and rocks and trying to free their trapped friend. Tommy. That's all I knew about him. His name was Tommy, and he was trapped and dying in a collapsed cave 8,000 miles from home. We can't get him out. The rocks are too heavy. Tommy, hang on, buddy. We're gonna get you out. Tommy started screaming then. Not words, just screaming. Pain, terror. The knowledge that he was going to die in the dark, crushed by rocks, on the last day of the battle that he'd survived for 28 days. His screaming went on for 7 minutes. I timed it. Couldn't help it. Just sat there with my headset on, listening to Tommy scream, watching the clock, counting the seconds. Then silence. Tommy? Tommy, talk to me. Tommy. Nothing. He's gone. Jesus Christ, he's gone. I took off my headset, set it down on the console, stood up. My supervisor asked where I was going. I didn't answer, just walked out. Walked through the ship. Didn't know where I was going. Just walked. Ended up on the weather deck. First time I'd been topside in days. The sun was setting. The island was there. 5 miles away. Black volcanic rock. Smoke rising from 100 fires. Ships everywhere. Landing craft still running supplies to the beach. It was beautiful. The sunset. The ocean. The ships. Beautiful. And all I could hear was Tommy screaming over and over, even without the headset, even without the radio, just screaming in my head, forever. A chief petty officer found me, took me to sick bay. The doctor gave me something, put me in a bunk, told me to rest. I rested, but I never stopped hearing it. The screaming, the radio traffic, the voices, all of them, every single one, thousands of them, still there. Still in my head, still screaming. The battle ended on March 26, 1945. 36 days, 26,000 American casualties, nearly 7,000 dead. The Japanese fought almost to the last man. 21,000 dead. Only 216 taken prisoner. We shipped out a week later, headed back to Pearl Harbor, then back to the States. I was transferred to shore duty. Medical discharge 6 months later. Combat fatigue, they called it. Shell shock, battle stress. Whatever the term, it meant I was done. Broken, no longer fit for duty. I came home to Philadelphia in August of 1945. The war was over. Japan had surrendered. Everyone was celebrating, kissing in the streets, dancing, drinking, joy everywhere. I couldn't feel it, couldn't celebrate. All I could hear was the radio traffic, the voices, the screaming. It never stopped, not when I slept, not when I was awake. Always there, always in my head. I can't wear headphones, can't listen to anything through speakers pressed against my ears. The sensation takes me right back to the comm center, back to Iwo Jima, back to the voices. I can't listen to radio broadcasts, can't watch TV with the sound on, can't go to movies. Any disembodied voice coming through a speaker and I'm there again, 23 years old, below decks, listening to Marines die. My wife, she's patient, understanding. She doesn't ask questions, doesn't push. When she found out I was a radio man in the Navy, she asked if I'd seen action. I told her I'd never fired a weapon, never been in direct combat, never even set foot on Iwo Jima. All true, but incomplete. What I didn't tell her was that I'd heard every minute of that battle, every death, every scream, every silence. That I'd sat safe below decks while boys my age died on that beach. That I'd survived without a scratch while 7,000 Americans died and I listened to every goddamn one of them. How do you explain that? How do you tell someone that you're haunted by voices you only heard through radio static? That you have nightmares about people you never met? That you're destroyed by a battle you never fought in? I work in a factory now. Machine shop, loud. The noise helps, drowns out the voices in my head. My co-workers think I'm deaf. I let them think that. Easier than explaining. Sometimes I read about Iwo Jima, about the flag raising, about the heroism, about the sacrifice. They call it one of the defining moments of the Pacific War, a turning point, a victory. They're right, it was all those things. But when I read those accounts, I don't see the triumph. I see the cost. I hear the voices. Tommy screaming in the collapsed cave. Jenkins dying on the beach. Thousands of others whose names I never knew, but whose voices I'll never forget. I was a radio man in World War II. Never saw combat. Never fired my weapon. Never even got close to the fighting. But I heard it all, and I never came home. None of us did.